All righty. Hello and welcome to everyone. If you are joining us on what for me is a pretty early morning, thank you very much. If you happen to be a member of my guest audience, thank you also for popping in here as well. I'm hoping to have more cross channel conversations as the months go on because community building is very important to me and getting acquainted is very important to me. And that's what we're going to do here today. We are going to find out who Stijn Fawkes of the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans is. As I mentioned in the introduction to this video, he is a pagan podcaster, quite a prolific one in recent days. And he's also a pagan community builder. So we have a lot of interests that align right now. So to begin with, Stijn, could you tell the audience what got you interested in paganism to begin with?
Yeah, of course. I've always been a history buff. Always liked the stories. And especially here in the Netherlands, we have a lot of stories to tell, a lot of stories to share, not just from the Northern European pagans, but also the Romans have a big history here, especially in the area that I live. So yeah, and always been fascinated by religion. I didn't necessarily grew up religious, but my grandparents were Roman Catholic. So we did go to, I mean, we did go to church, just like not every Sunday, but with the major holidays, Easter, Christmas,
Got you.
we'd go to church, but more as a family traditional thing. Especially with my late grandmother from mother's side, we'd always go to church the next town over. That was kind of the family church, because that's like everybody from my mother's side kind of stuck around in the same area of the country. So we always met up there around Christmas or Easter. The family back together again. I have tried the Christian thing. I've tried the Catholic thing. Of course, it's what I knew. It's what was most easily available. But it didn't work out for me. Like the one hurdle I couldn't get over with, and maybe it was a lack of information and support too, but was the believe or else. Believe,
Yeah.
behave or else.
Hmm.
That, for me at least, that brought so much stress with it that at a certain point I was just like, you know what, I can't do this. I am too busy focusing on what I do, what I say, what I think. I can't live a normal life like this.
Yeah.
Um,
I hear what you're saying. Absolutely. There's something about someone holding a sword over your head, like, the sword of Damocles saying,
yeah,
do exactly what we tell you or else. And I'm like, I don't respond well to that kind of reasoning. If I was dealing with the mob, I would understand. But if I'm dealing with deity, I'm thinking, if your way is so wonderful and perfect, why do you have to threaten me? Wouldn't I want to do things your way if it was a better way? So I understand that completely. What was it after you came to this realization that the pagan or well, rather the Christian or the Catholic way just that wasn't going to be for you? What made you think that maybe paganism could be more than just an interest of history for me? What made you think that this could actually become a spiritual practice for you, or was there any one particular thing?
yeah, there was, like, I was interested for a while. Like, I already knew, of course, that there was still a lot of pagan practices.
Hmm.
I see the Christmas tree behind you, for example. Like, that
Yes.
is a pagan practice,
Yes, it is.
which is funny. So, every good Christian that has a Christmas tree in their house, like, it's a pagan practice. I'm sorry to tell you. Um,
Shh, don't make them stop. I like having the ornaments readily available.
true, true. I won't. So, like, that was that was one thing that I already knew, and with the days of the week, of course, like I already knew what they stood for, and
Mhm.
the gods kind of what they stood for. Um, so like I was already interested in the more pagan Viking sphere at the time, and like the real catalyst for me was actually the TV show Vikings. May sound kind of silly, but I started off as one of those. Well, you could call it pop culture pagans. I know that Vikings is, well, there's a lot of truth in it, but it's still Hollywood. They
Right.
still make it. It's still kind of over exaggerated, and they look more like bikers than Vikings with all the leather armor and whatever. Looks badass, and that's what it's all about, of course.
Yeah. I mean, you can't fault the aesthetic. I mean, it is very compelling.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, hell, they caught me. I've watched like all seasons. Well, besides the newest one, I don't count that one as being legit. So
So, since you brought that up, that that kind of popular culture was essentially the gateway drug that really got you into things. What do you think about other depictions of our folklore or mythology or just the gods and entertainment media in general? Do you think, on balance, that this is more helpful or more detrimental, or do you think it's just more so how the individual reacts to it?
that is something that I have been debating more lately. Keeps coming up because I was kind of a gatekeeper. Like there's like true paganism and true heathenism, and then there's the pop culture
Hmm.
BS. I was especially, well, mad or insulted at the Marvel depictions of Odin and Thor and Loki. Um, but then someone commented on one of my videos on one of my podcasts on YouTube that, hey, like, what if that is like the catalyst for the next generation to look into the gods and do deeper research and do some soul searching and find out that, hey, they are my gods. And that kind of made me think like, well, I mean, that's how I got there, so yeah, I guess why not. So no, I still do not agree with how they are depicted, and especially in the Marvel universe, that they are well, basically aliens, just like very advanced aliens. I mean, you have, of course, the ancient astronaut alien god theory, and I think that maybe part of that agenda. But I mean, hey, if that gets someone into paganism, or like at least interested in it, then that's a way to get there. So
I mean, it is one of those. You have lemons, but sometimes you can make lemonade out of them, and you never know what the gods are going to use to try to hook someone in. If they're saying, you know what, that one over there, they belong with us. Let's start reeling them in. You don't know what mechanism they're going to use. And honestly, with my own journey, when I first got into paganism, I was mostly involved with Wicca. I mean, I was practicing witchcraft, and that's always been a very good fit for me. But then out of nowhere, I started feeling more of a pull towards Norse spirituality. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll just start incorporating a few things into it. But then I was noticing, if I was scrolling through Pinterest or if I was looking for a YouTube video to just kind of zone out with, a lot of the Marvel characters and story analysis was coming up over and over again. And I thought, okay, that's weird. But I'm a storyteller nerd. So I'm like, okay, this is fine. And they were analyzing the different actions about, how things were portrayed as, who was the good guy, who was the bad guy, but looked at it in the context of, how it looked from their point of view. And I thought, oh, that kind of puts a different spin on things. And then when Loki started finally reaching out to me, I thought, okay, obviously I know you're not the Loki that I'm familiar with from the Marvel, But I also know that, the idea of Norse spirituality and Norse gods keeps coming up again and again. And suddenly you're here. What does that mean? And ultimately it meant taking, a different look at him, saying, how did events look from his eyes? And that has barreled into this year-long journey. So, good things can come from very questionable sources.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, very much.
But speaking of good things, I do find that paganism, no matter who I talk to, their path, once they put it into practice, it has involved a lot of personal evolution and beneficial changes for them. Has that also been your experience? And
Yeah, definitely. It for sure has made me a better man.
mhm,
And like also with Thor being the main deity that I connect with, that I you know have in my that I worship. Like I work out a lot, and I do jujitsu like once or twice a week. So like even physically, it's keeping me fit. And I mean, I gotta say, like, even just spiritually talking, there have been a lot of developments, and a lot of knowledge and deeper knowledge, for from myself and the world around me, that well, I'm not gonna say I never would have find out, but it would have took me a lot longer.
mhm.
It's with with the gods, it's easier to find my inner strength, to which makes it easier to keep on fighting the things that I have to fight, whether that be on a spiritual plane or a physical plane. Even if it's on the physical plane, the spiritual plane definitely helps with that. And yeah, also, if I didn't walk this spiritual path, I wouldn't have met half the people I have, and
Yeah.
wouldn't have half the fun I have, just chatting with people and sharing the stories, and thinking about all the things that stories tell us. And so it for sure has brought me a lot. And I don't think I could imagine life without the gods, without walking this spiritual path. It's become too big of a part.
Oh, that is beautiful to hear, and I love what you were saying about how essentially your explorations laid the foundation for you finding your own community. What do you think that what needs or desires that pagan communities can really fill for people? Because I'm sure you've heard from the United States, a lot of people are very solitary on their own. So we're just starting to come around to the idea that maybe communities have a point. What would you say to those people who are awakening to that idea?
Communities or tribes, or just any group, really can be very beneficial, even if it's just to connect with other people who walk the same path, or walk a um, a similar path. You can share the knowledge. You can help each other in your practice. Like, not everybody practices the same, of course.
Yeah.
The good friend of mine, who I met through the tribe. Actually, he first joined the tribe, and then we just became good friends. Josh, Child of Ash. He like he's a Germanic pagan as well, but still, well, quite different than from what I am. His practice is different from mine, but we believe in the same gods. We experience a lot of the same things, but and we love to talk about that too. And like, it's always good to connect with other people, and um to like maybe see things from like in a little different way. Like I said, not everybody practices the same way, but how one practices and how the other does their practice, it can open your eyes and it can open you up to new things, to try new things, and maybe that will help you further along on your spiritual path. Because that's what I think that's the best thing about tribes or groups or communities. They will definitely help you further your practice. Because if you're solitary, I mean, for some people, solitary is the way to go. You have those people that the the literal lone wolves. But in my opinion, in my experience, solitary practice only gets you so far. There is only so much that you like, knowledge wise and ascension wise, if you will. There's only so far you can go. Sometimes you need other people, even if it's just to broaden your horizon.
Oh, absolutely. For many years, I was pretty solitary. I would be part of groups, but not really part of them, more so on the outside edges. It wasn't until I sat down and started having proper discussions with people and getting underneath the skin of ideas that some dots began to connect for me. And once they did, I'm like, that is so obvious and I feel so dumb. But now that I know, you can go forward. I think that's a huge benefit for it. So, is this essentially what inspired you to create your own community? Because I know that you do have your own tribe. Was it about those connections, or was it social, or what? What made you take the
Um,
step?
a bit of both, actually. I have had experience with other groups. I have been talking about that more lately on my own streams, my own podcasts. Um, but I I don't do well with authority,
Yeah,
and authority doesn't really do well with me. Um,
well, you're talking to an American, so I understand all about that. We're not good with it either.
no, no, exactly. So when there is one individual who calls himself the jarl, but hey, yeah. Speaking of cats, let's.
Cat content, awesome. Hello,
Ah,
kitty.
this is my Timmy. Yeah,
You're such a good
yeah.
cat.
Say hi. Okay. Told you.
I
I
love
told
it.
you
I'm
it's
looking
gonna.
forward to that. This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I always say he's not even my cat. He's my Timmy, because like you have cats and then you have him. Um, but yeah, as I was saying, if you call yourself the Jarl, but you have other admins, you have other moderators, but you're still like, my word is law.
Hmm.
Um, I don't do well with that, especially if you're like, if one of the rules in your group is like, if you have a problem, if problems arise, then um talk to each other one on one. Don't just throw it in the group. Don't just throw it in the like in the admin group. um Talk about it with each other one on one. And I did bring my fiance Firefay. I did bring her into the group as well, because I was like, hey, this can be beneficial for you too, and maybe you can broaden their horizon a bit when it comes to witchcraft. Um, they weren't having it, unfortunately.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, that was another thing why I just had to leave the group, to broaden my own horizon. They were too focused on
Mhm.
golden age Viking, those couple hundred years, um, which was a damn shame, because I did try to broaden the horizon, um, going back further to the Indo-Europeans, Indo-Aryans, and bringing Fire Fae in with a couple other witches to broaden that part a bit too. But unfortunately, there was a misunderstanding arose between Fire Fae and a couple admins, and instead of the quote unquote Jarl talking to me in a private chat, he called me out in the either the admin chat or the business chat that we had, and I did not agree with that. They kept hassling me and kept hassling Fire Fae about breaking the rules and whatever, because you were not supposed to delete your comments, even though they did that themselves too. Um, yeah, I mean, but don't you dare bring that up because you're in the wrong, not us. Okay.
Oh, double standards, they only go one way, don't you know?
Yeah, exactly, which is so dumb. So yeah, eventually I was like, I can't do this anymore. I have learned a lot. I've made a lot of good connections. This has definitely helped me, but this group is going down, and I want to go up. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going down with it. So I left. That was like back in my Facebook days, so to speak. And eventually I left the platform entirely and just started over, started new, and that became the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans. And at first, I did mean it as a place to to learn and to connect and further your knowledge and your connection to the gods and the ancestors. And like later on, it just became a tribe. We're not always talking. We're not always serious. It's not always learning and needing to learn and whatever. Sometimes it just gabbing, just shooting the shits, just talking. So there are both aspects of it. And like I already have a lot of people tell me that they are like really happy to be in the tribe, because
Oh,
they found their group, they found their people.
that is wonderful. And I love the fact that you've allowed the social aspect to kind of take its proper place, because if we're going to have communities, it has to be that. It can't just be about instruction or coming together for serious matters. It needs to be
Yeah,
the lightness and the joking and just we're all kind of sharing an aspect of our lives with each other. Now, because of once you do have your group and your community and you're getting to know people, I'm sure that you see similar things that I do, that people have their struggles and some things are very deep
yeah.
rooted and very hard for them to overcome. Um, and I'm just wondering, do you see any common themes that many pagans of your acquaintance are kind of going through their personal struggles with? And is there anything about our faith and our spirituality and how we practice that might help people kind of work through some of their own baggage? Because we've all got it, for sure.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Like we all have a past, so we all have baggage of some kind. And if you don't, you're a liar.
Yeah.
Uh, but
We're
like
calling it
actually,
straight this morning, folks. We're being real honest.
oh, I mean, come on, you have to be. Like the world is full enough lies already. So
Oh, isn't that for sure?
right. But like personal struggles, like I don't have really a example from my tribe besides the struggles that me and my fiance went through. Like I know that Josh, he got married quite recently after being together with his now wife for quite some time, and he struggled to get through the whole preparing for the wedding, because they had to do this and they had to do that, and these forms and that hall, and the caterer and God knows what. So seriously, sorry, my hair doesn't want to work with me today.
That's why
um
I do this. It can't be
yeah,
reasoned with.
yeah. My hair is a little too short for that, and I don't know how to braid. um but he was really nervous, and he just wanted the whole, like the road towards the actual I do. He just wanted to get it over with, because it was such a hassle, and he was like, I want to get married, I want to be with the love of my life, but do we have to do all of the prep work? Like, that is my least favorite part of the wedding. And it's like, dude, just focus focus on the last part. Yeah, exactly. It's, once that's done, you can live your life. You can live your life as husband and wife. Just, it'll be okay. Chill. If you need us, we're here.
Yeah.
So
Give him a shot of whiskey as he's shaking. He's like, "This woman is insane. I married a crazy woman. Oh my God. Will my sweetie pie return to me after we say the vow? I don't know." I'm pretty sure that's what my husband was thinking before we got married, because it was the same thing. It was the, it was putting on the wedding itself that caused so much strain. And after, as we were in the weeks led up, he was just being very kind, very patient, treading very lightly, backing away slowly if I got an overly crazed look in my eye. Yeah, we should probably talk sometime about maybe it's time to simplify wedding arrangements, but that's another conversation for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Uh,
like, we as a tribe, we try to help him through, to get him through all of that, and now they're happily married with
oh,
couple of dogs, couple of cats, couple of kids. So
oh, see, that's the dream. That is absolutely a dream. So, kind of moving to a slightly different topic, is there anything that you wish the non-pagans amongst us knew about pagans or about pagan spirituality?
oof, that is a good one. Well, maybe, because like I do believe that is still um kind of the mainstream look. We're not like, we may be pagans, but we're not barbarians, so to
Yeah,
speak. Like, we are civilized people as well. It's not all you know pillage and plunder. I mean, it's a part of it, was a part of it, of course. But there are so many misconceptions still about that, and like, especially the pillage and plunder
hmm,
part. They, like, everybody always thinks that was, they pillaged and plundered the town, took all the pretty women, and just burned it to the ground. But like, common sense tells you that if you do that with every town you raid, then at a certain point you don't have any towns left to raid.
yeah, yeah. Well, and another thing that people don't consider is that that practice, it didn't arise out of nowhere. I mean, as I've studied the history, I realized that, farming, herding, fishing, these were, really entrenched proper trades.
Yeah.
What led to some of the more rowdiness was a very specific set of circumstances. And I think people sometimes forget that, that's the part that's remembered. Just because they were facing adversity and that was their way of dealing with it, we don't have to necessarily approve of how they saw fit. But I think it's also worth asking ourselves the questions: if we found ourselves in such a dire situation, are we really sure we wouldn't do similar things? And I wonder if that scares people. What do you think?
um yeah, maybe it does. Maybe they they look at that, and look at the the especially the dire times we've been living in over the last couple of years, and it's like, well, if push comes to shove, wouldn't we be the ones raiding too, even if it's like if it's just a means to survive? Like I mean, we did see that already, like at the very start of the whole worldwide thing going on. Is like stores were pretty much raided,
Oh yeah, they were.
like to the point that stock just didn't get refilled because I mean, what's the point? It's gone within seconds anyway, and not always paid for.
Yeah.
Um, so it's funny, the people looking down at, and it was just the Vikings, because
Hmm.
and Viking, to go Viking was to go out and raid. There was a very specific subgroup. The rest were, indeed, they were farmers, they were smiths, they were leather workers. They were craftsmen and farmers.
Hmm.
That was the majority. And the Viking, they were, like I said, a very specific subgroup. And it's not like they went raiding year round. There were specific seasons.
Yeah, I think that's something that people could definitely stand to understand. And another thing that I think would be helpful for people to understand that while it was a violent time and violent things certainly happened, and, that doesn't mean that every aspect of the worship or the people themselves was surrounded by violence and blood and all this stuff. Because for one, you'd run out of people real quickly if like, I'd like it to rain. Let's just go sacrifice Billy Bob over there. I mean, people take the most extreme practices and the most extreme set of circumstances when people were desperate and trying to do something, and they think, oh well, that's just was the norm. No, no, it wasn't. I mean, I would appreciate it if people would acknowledge that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, exactly. We were normal people. We were everyday people. And yeah, here in Northern Europe, it is hard living because like, yeah, we do have a lot of fertile soil, but not always the sunshine and the warmth to like
Yeah.
grow what we want to grow. So we had to live, well, simple lives. And especially in autumn and winter, it gets
Yeah.
cold. And here in the Netherlands, like, most of our country borders at sea, so we have a like always that cold sea wind
Ooh,
coming in. So
I
it's a
didn't think about
very,
that. Oh, that
yeah,
would be hard.
yeah. So in the summer we have a very humid heat. The kind that, like, you take 10 steps outside and you're gushing with sweat.
Hmm.
But in the winter, like, we have a very humid cold. So it's not the like, my fiance lives in Colorado, and that's a really dry cold. It's like mountain cold. I so had to get used to that when I was over there. Um, but here, like, it always feels colder than it actually is, and it's always wet. So yeah, hard living makes for harder people.
Do you think that maybe if certain things like the Havamal, just for example, if that was known more and understood more in broader society, do you think that would start deconstructing some of the prejudice we face? Because the Havamal in particular, it is all about successful living and how you can be, a member of society that doesn't make people tense up and, just grind their teeth every time you enter the room.
Yeah.
Decent basic humoring. Do you think things like that might help, or do you think minds are still a little bit too closed?
No, I think that would definitely help, especially with European paganism, North European paganism. If those texts, the good parts, indeed, as you said, how to be a good man, how to be a good person. I mean, the Christians have their Bible that tells them how to live, and that's spread worldwide. So
Mhm.
why can't us pagans do the same thing? I mean, I'm not saying that the Havamal is like the pagan Bible, but it's the closest thing we have to it.
I mean, it's good advice. I mean, and I think no matter what faith you are in, you could look at it and say, oh, that actually would make sense to do. And then there's that annoying part where you turn the mirror on yourself, like, my behavior isn't exactly measuring up. Do I change or do I pretend like it's not happening?
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's another thing with with Germanic paganism, European paganism. We are basically told to have that mirror in front of us, and yeah, like you'll come to find out that there is a lot that you don't like, and a lot that um, other people may have told you that you do, but you're like, oh, I'm not that bad. But then you take a look in the mirror, or you look inwards, and it's like, oh wait, I am that bad.
Yeah, those are never fun occasions. And I have to say, ever since I started working more and more with Norse deities, I find that mirror moment happens a lot more. Now, it's always to the benefit, because I want to point that out to anyone who might be listening to us, who might be thinking, I don't think I can bear the brunt of that. I don't think I can survive. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I mean, they don't, I haven't found that the gods push people past their limits of endurance. I mean, they will help you grow new limits, but their intention is not to break you. It's essentially of allow us to mold you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're not gonna. I mean, unless you like really don't listen and you're really stubborn, yeah, then they'll throw something in your face like, oh, you're not gonna listen. You're gonna be a stubborn jackass. Okay, fine. Here, the hardest lesson we can give you. If this doesn't wake you up, then okay, whatever. It's on you.
Yeah, we'll redirect our energies elsewhere. And
Yeah,
I like the fact that there is back and forth between the gods and humans, and even between our ancestral spirits and the land spirits and us. I've really come in the past year to appreciate just how that ebb and flow and that give and take. I mean, you have to start thinking of it as a relationship that you would form with any human, because in a functional way, it is operating in the same way, even if the style of communication is not overt as you and I speaking to each other right now.
yeah.
So, if paganism continues on with its revival, which I do think that it will, and we become more widespread, more mainstream, how do you think that will impact the rest of society?
Um, yeah, it's a good one. It's funny. I've actually been talking about that yesterday with someone on my own podcast.
Yay, I'm on
Um,
the same wavelength.
weird weaving, right? Um, I think it can only work to our benefits. Like there definitely is a pagan revival going on. That's that much has been obvious, and I think a big part of that is because like at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we were collectively thrown into a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
We had to really start reevaluating things, and like it made us realize, well, it made a lot of people realize, at least there are still people who are stuck in that way of thinking, um that we take a whole lot for granted, being locked up in your own house for a week straight. Although here in the Netherlands it wasn't that bad. Like we more had more of a soft lockdown, and some
Mhm.
stupid rulings that didn't help, and a lot of people still broke,
Mhm.
myself included. Like if you're going to tell me to do one thing, I'm going to do the other thing.
Good man. Good man.
um but like I heard from the guest that I had on my own show yesterday. um Being locked up in your own house for a week and not either not being able to leave or not being allowed to leave, it'll make you miss things. It'll realize that you have taken so many things for granted, and especially nature. Like if you can't go out in nature, if you can't even just sit in your backyard, if you have one. Like I live in the city, but I'm lucky enough that I have a small backyard. um like even tiny things like that, you're like, man, I do really miss that. I just, like, even in the summer, that was the hardest time. Like I can't even just sit outside on the beach or near a lake or even in my backyard in the sunshine and like read a book or just listen to some music, or because we're not allowed to. And those things, they'll make you think, they'll make you, like I said, they'll make you reevaluate things. And that's why a lot of people like found their way, well, back to nature, which, I mean, paganism is very much nature based, of course. So I think, the pagan revival, I think it's for for us as humans, for us as, well, spiritual beings, because like whether you want to admit it or not, we all have a god, whether that is the actual gods or the government.
Yeah.
um Science is their religion, the government is their god. Hey, it's still a religion. So
Not a very healthy one, but religion nonetheless.
yeah,
That's the scary
exactly.
part.
The light side and the dark side, the earthly dualism, duality. But yeah, I think it's like, first of all, it really backfired on the ones who like did lock us down,
Mhm.
because I do not believe they ever intended for this to happen. They thought they could. They probably thought they would break our spirits with this, but for a lot of people, it only strengthened it, and they found their way back to nature, to the ancestors, to our gods. And I do believe it is, how ironic that may sound, it is the best thing that could have happened to us, because we had to do soul searching. We had to find a way back. We had to find some connection to help us through these dark times.
Yeah. And what we said earlier about how you never know what mechanism the gods are going to use to reach out. I mean, sometimes a pretty picture requires painting with some really dark colors. And I love your way of looking at that, because I think that is the best possible thing that could have come out of all of the insanity over the past few years. I mean, and if anything, I think not only did it strengthen people to find their way back to nature and back to the gods, I think it also had some people who were may have they were kind of in their previous religions out of habit more than anything else, and having that moment of, oh, my religion isn't helping me right now. My religion isn't, fighting to gather together. My religion isn't, my pastor isn't standing up for anything. They're just saying, "Oh, just do as you're told," and they're feeling instinctively, well, that's not right. And then I wonder how many people had their own first pagan awakening, saying, maybe there is something else here for me to explore. So yeah, that is a very unexpected positive to take out of it. I appreciate that. I really do.
No, yeah, no, you're welcome. And like what you said with the churches being close and all, or like even what I saw, like having banners like Jesus won't save you, get the jab. It's like, but doesn't that like go entirely against what you've always been preaching? Isn't that incredibly backwards? And
I thought that was a theological issue too, because their whole premise of Jesus saves is that even if he wasn't preserving your physical form in this life, that you would be taken to heaven upon death, and all would be well, and you'd be rewarded for your faithfulness. For them saying Jesus won't save you, I mean, what kind of nasty, twisted mind disaster did they just put into their congregants? But I mean, I should say, I mean, maybe we are ultimately the victors of that. Maybe they expose themselves in the truth of who they are and what they're really about just a little bit too much for some people to go back.
yeah.
Um, so, especially since we both have audience members who have a broad range of experience. Some people have been in this for decades, some longer than either of us have been alive, and others, they found out about this yesterday, and it's all brand new. So, is there anything about pagan life, in your opinion, that you consider to be just absolute necessity? Got to have this, got to do this, got to explore this? Anything that is kind of like a must?
That is a good one. I mean, I guess the one thing that that every well, half decent pagan should have is a altar.
Hmm.
And that can be a really simple thing, in my bedroom. I made an altar out of my, out of my desk. I put down some, a cloth with, I believe it's the flower of life. I put up some pictures from, me and my kids, and just my kids and my my grandparents, or symbols um, that represent, that symbolize my grandparents. And I burn incense on that like pretty much daily when, especially when I go to bed. So that is my altar, and it can be as simple as that. I mean, it's still, quite elaborate, but even if it's just, it can be as simple as just one statue, one tiny statue, even if it's, just the size of, I don't know, like one of these Warhammer figures, for example. And if you can't do that for some reason, I mean, I don't know how, um, express gratitude.
Hmm.
Just thank the gods, thank your ancestors for, for what you have. And with the hard times, ask them for the strength, thank them for the strength that will get you through. And I think that is the most important part. Just express gratitude, because you may not always see it, you may not always like directly feel it, but the gods are always there. Your ancestors are always wanting and helping to push you forward. So to say thank you, to express gratitude, it's only logical, it's only natural. You do that in like in real life, so to speak, with people too. If they, give you something that helps, if they tell you something that, makes something click, and you're like, oh yeah, I should go do that. You always say thanks. Thank you for that advice. Thank you for helping me. And with the gods and with your ancestors, that's no different.
Yeah, it's amazing how cultivating basic good manners, how that even has a spiritual component. And I love that you bring that up. Now, I absolutely am on board with you with the idea of having an altar. You need to have some kind of spiritual center. Do you think it makes a difference whether it's indoors or outdoors? Because I know in some circles that's very controversial. I've always had mine indoors. I hope at some point to have an outdoor space, but do you have any feelings on that subject?
Well, I do always see people in the pagan communities talking that, oh, our gods are nature based, so therefore, if you want to like really connect with them, you have to be outside, you have to go outside, you have to have some place of worship outside, even if it's just, in your backyard and just like a small heap of rocks or whatever. I do think, um, that helps. Being connected with the earth, being connected with the elements. I do believe it'll make it easier to connect with the gods, but it's not like, this is just my opinion, at least.
Mhm.
It's not necessary, as long as you have some place of worship, a small altar, or just, it can be as simple as, just wearing the Mjolnir. It's already a symbol of worship. So
Absolutely. One thing I wonder about is that maybe we should also think about the nature of the deities that we're trying to connect with. For instance, I'm a housewife, so obviously all of the goddesses who are married and running their own household, they have special significance for me because obviously I have a great deal to learn from them to be, not just, the basics of taking care of the household, but also how to be a better wife, how to be a better family member, and to really contribute to that. So I got to thinking, wouldn't it make sense since they are focused on the domestic sphere to also have a center of worship in that domestic sphere? And I wonder if that's been a part of debates that you've been part of, or people have looked at it that way, or. Or
Um,
am I in left field here? Because if I am, you can
no,
tell me.
no, no. You're absolutely right. I mean, there are different gods for different circumstances, different gods for different people. Best example I can give are like Odin and Thor, for example. Odin, the wisest of all gods, and he's always been perceived as more of a god for the elite, for the upper echelons of society, because they are of, well, of more a elite status. They usually, at least back in the older days, they had more knowledge, they had more wisdom. Thor has always been a god of the people, and he's a big burly guy. So like, if you want to honor Thor, hit the gym.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes that gets overlooked about how the manner in which we conduct our lives, that in and of itself can show honor to the gods. It isn't necessarily like, and we're going to gather round in a circle, gang, and we're going to acknowledge the directions, and we'll invite this, just day to day living. This is something that one of my colleagues, Georgia Liberty, talks about a lot. Is that, once you realize that everything that exists also has spiritual layers and magical natures, you start looking at everything in your life a little bit differently. Even simple chores, sweeping your floor. You're not just sweeping your floor, you are getting stagnant energy out of the home. You're freshening everything up. And it is a different level of your mindset once you are able to get your head around that, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the future a little bit. Um, if you were to kind of envision where you would like things to be for your group and for pagan community in general, say 10 years from now, what do you think a successful state of affairs might look like?
Oh, that is a good one. What I really want for the tribe, and this is Josh, his big dream too, and I do absolutely agree with it. Is like, first of all, have the tribe, or the core members of the tribe at least, like, actually meet up, like, face to face, IRL. That's definitely the first thing. I mean, I've already been invited several times to come to Florida. It's just, travel is a little expensive,
Yeah.
just a little.
Yeah, the cost of fuel is not helping that at all.
No, no, no. And then, a place to stay and food and, things I want to do. And it's, I don't want to, like, pay for the ticket, pay for the Airbnb, and then come in the States and be like, well, I'm broke.
Yeah. I'm here. I can't do anything, but I arrived. Yeah,
I'm
I,
stuck at
I
the
hear.
airport because I don't even have money for a taxi.
Yeah, but what you say about, wanting to meet up, I'm starting to see that on other channels I follow, that there is this great need of, we need to come to gather together, whether we're celebrating a particular pagan holiday, or if it's just, it's been a minute since we saw each other. There is seeming to be needing that greater face to face. Do you think as time goes on that you might start finding communities, like maybe small towns that are perhaps majority pagan? Do you think that maybe we're on the road to that?
Out in the country, perhaps. It's going to be hard to find those communities in the city, because
Yeah.
paganism, heathenism, it's um, I mean, Paganas and people of the heath, they are people of the country. It's, as I said, it's a very nature based religion. So where are you going to find those communities? Where are you going to find those people most? In
Where there's
nature,
nature.
out in the country. With the whole rise of the Abrahamic faiths, they went to the cities first, because that's where all the power is centralized. And once you have the kings, the jarls, the big landowners on your side, then you know it's you're done. They'll take it from there.
Yeah.
um so I do believe that there will be communities, and that there are communities, and that's one thing I want to do with the tribe as well. And like I said, that's a very big dream of Josh as well, and I definitely want to help him make that happen to like he takes it really far. He actually wants tribal land, just a piece of land for the Greyhorn pagans when we where we actually can build our community on with with a long haul, with a meat hall, with a couple farms, and just like have a actual community like our ancestors would have, just in a more modern sense, because still central heating and electricity, because we're
Those
kind
are
of
handy things
it's
to have.
yeah. So
Oh, I mean, that touches my heart so much to see that other people, that they're kind of sharing that same dream that I have. And whether or not we see it in our lifetimes, I almost feel like that's a secondary issue. The fact that we're starting to put that out there, putting things in motion and starting to work towards it, I think that's a huge step forward. And the thing about what you said about centralized power, that was not lost on me at all. We're having that same issue in the United States because there are people who want that centralized power, and then there's people like me who's saying, "I don't think that we will." And I wonder if maybe people starting to splinter off a little bit, saying, "Okay, you lunatics can do whatever you're wanting to in the city. We're going to have some common sense in our own communities in the country." And because of just the polytheistic nature of paganism, I tend to think that it lends itself more to a decentralized structure of society and having more local control. You're nodding your head, so you're kind of answering the question I was going
yeah,
to ask if you saw a similar thing.
yeah, no, that definitely is the case. I mean, of course, you still have to have people who will take control when it is asked for. I mean, I do call myself the Jarl of the Greyhorn pagans, but I founded the tribe, so I feel it to be my duty to keep it nice, keep it clean, keep it a healthy tribe. And I think that's what a true leader should do. Not just make the rules, make the laws, and make sure that they are enforced, but be one of the people, and like always, tribe first.
Mhm.
And that's why it's a big thing why I call myself a folkish heathen as well. It's a term very much looked down upon because of what happened in the 1940s, because those people called themselves volkish as well. But it just means that you put your own people before everything,
Mhm.
and I don't think that that is such a bad thing. Like
No, I mean,
family first, tribe
yeah,
first, own people
that's
first. I mean, it
that's
only makes sense,
exactly
right?
That's exactly where I was gonna go with that, because people, they forget that, what was a tribe? What has a tribe always been? It's a collection of families. And the idea that you would not hurt your own flesh and blood and people who you've known and been around your whole life, that you wouldn't put them over strangers, that is a really anti-human way of thinking. And I think that's one of the things of the modern age we're all going to have to train ourselves out of, because human societies never functioned like that. It never will. It's actually the reason why people are so atomized now. But I was thinking, well, as you were describing leadership, would you agree that to the principle that leadership is service?
Yeah, yeah. The in service of your tribe, in service of your people. If something happens, doesn't matter what happens. If you are a leader or are perceived as a leader, people will come to you for a solution,
Hmm.
or to at least help them with solving said issue. And I mean, nowadays, as you already put it, our leaders, or the people who say that they are our leaders, they are actually the cause of most of these problems. um just to kind of get political for a moment, we're not gonna vote our way out of this.
Yeah.
You know, politics is not going to be the solution to politics. Um,
That's a
I
conclusion that Georgia Liberty and I have come to as well. We actually did we did a YouTube safe live stream yesterday, and then we recorded a Rumble, you know, what we really think episode yesterday, and that's exactly where we landed about how the political system cannot fix itself, and what's needed so badly is simply for people to be of a higher caliber and to value themselves, value their families, value just the common structures of society, because wherever you look in the world, no matter what time period is, it's always marriage, family, your relatives, your tribe, and then the broader nation, and that's the only thing that has ever helped people thrive. And when the people's characters went wrong, then that society collapsed. It's a very consistent historical pattern. So she and I are
yeah.
trying to do the motherly thing with our work to nag people into becoming a better person, whatever that looks like. Just be a better person.
Yeah, no, that's a very motherly thing to do. I remember my late grandmother from mother's side. She is missed. She always told me, and now later in life, I understand that a lot better. You know, if you want to make the world a better place, start with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that kind of covers what I think the feminine energy contribution to world affairs and our spiritual affairs really is. But last Wednesday, you were kind enough to come to the group chat on Gilded, which I appreciate. I always love to have new faces, and I hope it won't be the only occasion. But we were also talking about masculine energy, and what do you think masculine energy can bring to the community as pagans, and to the broader community, just kind of no matter what religion you are? What do you think men have to offer? Because I'm really sick of men getting beat up in the media and by politicians and everything else. It makes me mental. So
Yeah.
defend the honor of your species, if you would.
Oh yeah, the whole toxic masculinity thing. Like I try to ignore it. I try to to brush it off. But yeah, we're not allowed to be men anymore. But what I think that masculinity, like actual masculinity, and masculinity isn't toxic. Yeah, there are toxic men here and there, but I mean there are toxic people everywhere, so it's not just men.
Yeah, there's
Um,
toxic femininity, that I can tell you with absolute
oh,
certainty.
very much so. What I think we like us men, us actual men, can bring is healthy leadership, is guarding our folk, protecting our folk, what we should have been doing all along, instead of I don't know, eating soy burgers and collecting Funko Pops. That's not gonna help. And like that's another thing that is more from a cold perspective, I guess, that the whole like government thing and WHO, WEF,
Mhm.
it's very overbearing motherly.
Yeah.
You know, as I mentioned last Wednesday, it's let us take care of you,
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, but you're not though.
Hmm.
You're pushing your own agendas, and I think that never would have happened if um like if they didn't yeah, denigrate and downgrade and like made masculinity a toxic thing. You're not allowed to be a man. I mean, you're allowed to be a woman as a man, um, which is just it's inversion, it's perversion, but it's just
Oh, I
another way
agree.
to get rid of men.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think that they would have succeeded as much as they have already, because you like you can say what you will, but they are still succeeding very much in pushing their agendas through.
They are. And I think you're absolutely right about that. I mean, and that's why they have to constantly go after men, because men who are healthy and have confidence and self esteem and confidence in their own abilities, then, they're a major threat to these authoritarians' power. And the only way to, and you're right, it is a very female psychological way to go after them. It's because, they're not, going out and massacring all the men. No, no, no. They're just psychologically undermining them. They're tearing them down from the inside out. And I
Yeah,
thought, ugh, that is the bitchiest, most nastiest form of feminine warfare ever. Because, and I really am glad that paganism is having its resurgence, because I think it teaches healthy femininity, healthy masculinity, and also what the cooperation and teamwork between the two actually looks like and how it actually functions. And I think there's a great hunger for that in the world. Is that something you also perceive?
yeah, definitely. It's well, a less vocal group maybe, but there are still people, there are still women who who want a manly man, who are desperately seeking a manly man, who are looking for a protector, a provider. And I think that like if that minority, if they would become more vocal, if they would speak up just a little more, I think that would wake up a lot of men too, or
Hear
at
that,
least.
ladies? He's giving us permission to nag. We may never get this opportunity again.
No, but like there are. I mean, like on the other hand, there are a lot of men too who will say that, oh, I'm going to fight and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but they're only saying that. I mentioned that last Wednesday too. That it's talk talk is cheap. I mean, sure, things have to be talked over and planned, and but you can be a keyboard warrior all you want and share memes all day long. I mean, mimetic warfare is a thing, but I do think it's time to um, well, it's time. It's been a long time to actually take action, to actually start doing something to back up those words. And I think a lot of people are still scared to do that. If you just look at all of what happened with with the protests going on. Like I've been at Museum Square in Amsterdam. I've been there, and um, I did indeed learn how a baton to the legs feels like. It's not pleasant. I can tell you that much. So I do see why people don't take action, but that's because the minority ruling class, they have the power like very centralized, but we have the numbers.
Hmm.
If there is just one individual who would like just stand up and do something and say something. And I mean, yeah, I'm just talking here right now, but at the same time I am trying to do things. I am trying to take action. And I mean, especially in these times, I think one of the best things you can do is vote with your wallet. Like, don't vote on a piece of paper and drop it somewhere in a box only for it to either be taken away, or like 40, 50, 100 other votes being thrown in there at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah,
um
we do. We seem to have mysterious problems with that. Hmm.
yeah,
But
or
anyway,
or votes disappearing. Like, since when does that happen?
It's
Um,
very mysterious, but we are on YouTube, so we'll move along. We may have to do a Rumble section on that sometime.
yeah. No, I think that's one of the better things you can do as well is like just real simple. The farmers, for example, they are in dire straits at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yes,
So
they are.
if you have the chance, buy directly from the farmers.
Hmm. Cut out the
Or
middleman.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there is a Turkish supermarket here, like at a 5 minutes walk for me. I live very close to the shopping center, which is so incredibly handy. But like all their products are fresh, and like half the price at what you would pay at, let's say the Albert Heijn. Like if I go to the Albert Heijn and I do my groceries for the week, I'm down like for $45. If I at the Turkish supermarket, the products are 10 times better. They're 10 times fresher. I can get a lot more for half the price. So even if it's just doing your groceries there, getting your vegetables from the greengrocer, getting your meat from the butcher, that already helps so much. Just do something, take action. The little things, they do matter.
Yeah. And that first step is usually the hardest one. And I say this so whether we're talking about taking political action or people who are trying to come out of the pagan broom closet, I say the first step is always going to be the hardest. Everything else is downhill from there. And once you conquer that particular fear, you'll find yourself much more equal to deal with future stresses. And you have to be able to deal with the stresses because there's always going to be criticism, no matter what anybody does. Of course, we get
Yeah.
our fair share. I'm sure you've had some unsavory characters find your way to their channel and tell you about how you're going to hell. That's a regular feature, especially on my BitChute channel.
uh,
If someone doesn't tell me I'm going to hell at least once a week, it hasn't been a week, and I'm just like, where's my haters? They're missing. so
yeah.
so in a way, I think we've also got to start developing some insulation from criticism and just realizing you can't go through life expecting everyone to like you and everyone to approve of you. That there's going to be people who are just never going to like or agree with you ever, and that's okay. The world will continue to turn.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can try to be a people pleaser, and um I mean, I am a bit of a pleaser. I always want people to to be well, to do well, to think well of me. um but as you said, with some people, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how hard you try, how well you try to do things.
Hmm.
They'll always find that one little thing that they think still needs improvement. Or if you were only to improve a little more on that, or a little more on that, or a little more on that, and it's like, okay, I improved all these things. Am I good enough now? No, no, no. There's still this minor thing. Okay, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do the things that I'm good at, the things that make me happy. If that is something that you don't like, that's your problem, not mine.
I think we almost have to treat these people who are overly critical and nitpicky the way we do evaluate the opinions of cats, because cats always also think that we could stand to improve. We're not quite there yet. If we just adjusted these little things to suit them, life would be so much better. And of course, that would never be good enough. At a certain point, you have to consider the source and keep things in perspective. So I think we covered a lot of ground this morning.
Yeah.
Is there any final thoughts you want to leave with the audience before we go? Or
Um. No, I think the last thing that I said, just do do something. Even little pebbles make big waves.
fantastic. That's what you got, people. Stand up and do something. I promise it'll be better after you do. All righty. Well, thank you, Stein, so much for coming on with me. I appreciate this. I'm always keen to network. I hope this will be the first of many appearances. And just thank you so much for taking the time. I know with the time differences between you and the Netherlands and me in Missouri, it was a little challenging getting our schedules aligned, but I've enjoyed it so much. So
Yeah, me too. And thank you for having me. And Fireface says hi, by the way, before I before I forget, like I'm never gonna hear the end of it if I don't tell you. So
Huge shout out to Firefay. I had the pleasure of talking with her a little bit last night. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. So glad to be getting acquainted with her. I want to thank also Azamutu, who joined us in the chat today, to Hilda Crow, who joined us in the chat today. Anyone else, if I missed your name, I apologize. Really appreciate it. And just thank you so much. And hopefully you'll tune in the next time. And bye for now.
see ya.